Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vigilantes Union Local 13. I'm Ben Ravensdale, the narrator slash game master slash evil schemer behind most of the stuff going on. Today we are returning to an adventure in progress featuring two of the core characters of the Vigilantes Union Local 13 team, or the VU13 team for short. I will let them introduce themselves in turn. Amber, I think we'll go alphabetically.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dana Freebie. I'm playing Amber Knight. For those who don't know her, she's just a big, cuddly friend to everyone. And I'm not being sarcastic for once.
She's our favorite cinnamon roll.
She is. And it's fortunate that I would say that she needs to be protected at all costs, except she's mostly bulletproof, so, she's kind of a self-protecting cinnamon roll.
And I'm Jen Giggles. I am playing Ghost, also known as Jessa. She can be a bit bossy, apparently, and forthcoming. This is our first team-up episode with her, so we're learning a little bit about how she reacts and plays with other heroes and seeing how that will change and how she'll grow as a character.
All right, so a quick recap of where we were at the end of the last session. So the two heroes in question were both present at the Portland State campus. Amber was present as part of her duties with a local news crew from the Portland Portent, and Ghost was there as part of her duties as a grad student slash teacher's aide in the history department. The reason that was fortuitous, fateful, you decide, is because there was there were machinations to steal the remnants of the crystal heart that shattered when Ghost last faced Leviathan. So, they were both present for that. Amber got not injured, but got cut. Some blood was drawn by the remains of the dagger that were used to banish Leviathan, I guess, during that confrontation. The two of them have teamed up to find out what was going on because Ghost's mentor slash academic advisor was injured in the whole thing. And they went and spoke with a local eccentric. I think is probably the best way of describing Cameron. Cameron Tremblay, who is... Say again?
I said I honestly think it's on their business card.
It probably is.
Cameron Tremblay, he, local eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron is independently wealthy. Some might call them idle rich. That they might take offense to that, but maybe not. They don't take offense to much. But Cameron knows a lot about a lot, and is kind of a film, movie, history, lore buff, and basically gave our two heroes their next lead, which is to go and speak with a woman in the city by the name of Morgana Fayette, who is well-informed on matters magical and mystical. And we last saw our heroes flying off in that direction to go and speak with her. Were you both flying? Was Amber carrying Ghost?
I'm carrying Ghost.
Okay.
Amber was carrying Ghost. And honestly, the sheer embarrassment of this, I'm going to say that I need to make a willpower roll to not fall out of her hands.
I agree, actually. That is definitely the kind of situation.
Yeah.
I just got picked up by a big, buff woman. I'm gay as hell, and she's just, and I'm gonna, yep.
And don't actually notice that she's being embarrassed by this, so I can't do anything to mitigate.
And plus, you're both wearing those like super tight-fitting superhero costumes and everything like that. Like, it's definitely something that, for people who are prone to being a little bit like awkward in situations like that, it's prime awkward time. So yes, in particular, this is for those of you who may not be aware, Ghost has a flaw with her powers because they are still fairly new to her. Essentially, she has the uncontrolled limit to her phasing, which says that sometimes she phases without meaning to, or when she tries to phase, it doesn't always work. She has to make a willpower action in order to successfully phase. So, I will allow you, willpower, of course, being purple cards, sadly, none of which you have at the moment.
I don't.
Now, let's take a quick look at stats, and we'll kind of talk through some of this with folks. I'm going to... Will this show up if I bring it over here? It won't. Let me do it this way. So, looking at Ghost's stat block here real quick. Right now, you're sitting on an 8 willpower.
Yep.
I don't think I've specifically told you the difficulty you need to hit for this, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I liked it being a little bit of a mystery. So, yes.
So, I know from experience that everything is in units of 4.
Yes.
So I would have to either hit a 12 or a 16 if it was a really hard situation. 20, as it goes up, right?
Yes.
So 16, I'm leaning towards a 16 due to the fact that she's massive levels of, oh my god. I'm going to play an edge.
Excellent.
To put myself at a 9 total. And then I am going to play the Unholy Doom card that gets me a 16 total in an attempt to not fall through
Amber's arms, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would probably make it even harder for her to catch me because I'd be even more embarrassed.
That's
Right.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, at that point, like, does falling damage really affect someone who's phasing, but then you would phase through the ground, potentially, and then, like, you can't unphase when you're... It becomes a whole thing.
It's a problem. We don't want to deal with that.
Exactly. Okay, so that is a 16. That is successful in avoiding the preventing the stress from and the awkwardness from kind of overcoming you and kicking your powers in. So I'm going to put these over here as the discard, and then you can go ahead and draw your 2 cards back, and I'm going to draw a card to represent that Doom card, and that's going to come in my hand. It's going to be a secret you guys don't know about. I will just say this, that trade-off went in your favor. So you played a 7 of Doom. I did not get a 7 in return for that. But I did have a couple of cards left over from last session, by the way, so I've currently got 3 Doom cards in my hand.
Yep. 3 Doom cards to mess with us. Lovely.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. Also, I've realized that when I'm recording or anything like that, and I've got my glasses on, I look a lot like those like anime villains where like they're kind of all in shadow except the lenses of their glasses are like flaring with light. I think it's appropriate for this particular setting.
In Star Trek Adventures, Q runs the game. It's the guy it's the guy in the chair, the villain's guy in the chair that runs this game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Cameron did give you Morgana's address, and I believe also informed her that you were going to be on your way, because Cameron's not the type to like encourage dropping in unannounced. So with Amber flying, and I imagine Ghost probably has like a Google Maps up. Actually, no. Has what is it called?
Amber has the flight app. I forget what it was called.
Oh, I
I don't think I wrote it down.
Oh, you know what? I wrote it down. It is. Yeah, it was a Google Maps basically for flying superheroes. I don't think we came up with a name.
Okay.
So that's something we'll have to fix. But
Micah mentioned one in the chat, but I don't remember.
That's
what that
right. That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me see.
Well, if someone wants to leave a name for the Google Flying app, leave it in the comments and like and subscribe.
Yeah, make suggestions
Indeed.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't remember when that chat happened. So
It looks like Google Fly was one of the recommendations. We'll go with that for now.
what was the name of the company your dad worked for again?
TechMat.
Oh,
It's
it's
TM Fly. It's TM Fly. TechMet Fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least for now.
That's the current. It is in alpha testing.
Exactly.
So the name may change.
Luckily, the Vigilantes Union just became an official thing in Portland, and so they were able to get some members of the VU13 folks to alpha test it. So it was perfect.
Although
Yes.
I think that's the only one in our group. Oh no, that's not true. Compiler can fly.
Compiler can fly. I think. Oh no, KJ cannot fly, but may get to that point at some point in the future. We'll see what happens.
It's a possibility for every one of us based on our power sets.
It really is, yeah. Well, KJ's both of KJ's parents fly, so I kind of think it would be funny if KJ never developed the ability to fly, but we'll see what happens.
Technically, anything in our group can fly if I throw them hard enough.
That is true. Although I think Compiler's the only one who can safely land that.
Yeah.
So, but Compiler can fly by itself. So,
If I got a string of athletics, if I got a string of agility cards, I could land it.
tuck and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. I was a cheerleader. I could catch you. That was my job.
You just throw and then run over there and catch.
Exactly.
All right, so Morgana is.
Now, does Ghost need to make another willpower test, imagining her in the cheerleader outfit?
No. This is Jen being giggly.
Okay.
All right, so Morgana is currently not staying in her usual residence. It was attacked, and she was sort of apprehended or abducted by a supervillain not too long ago, and the repairs are still not finished. So she's currently staying in a fairly nice hotel, like kind of like penthouse suite type of thing. She's got several generations of wealth to throw around. So, the way that Cameron kind of talked about Morgana, you sort of expect her to be older, like in her 70s ish maybe. When she answers the door to her room, her suite, you are a little bit surprised to find a woman who's probably no older than like 27, and she is very elegant, like that very kind of casual attractiveness that like she probably runs a brush through her hair and slaps on a little bit of foundation or something like that and calls it a day. She's wearing fairly comfortable clothes, not quite like a robe, but it looks like something out of like the 50s. It's like fairly light material that by itself would probably be very kind of like scandalous to wear, but she's wearing like probably silk pajamas underneath or something like that. It looks like she's very comfortable.
Kind of thing like this.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. And she's wearing a locket around her neck. But she opens the door and says, "You must be Cameron's friends."
Yes. And I want to say that we probably landed on the balcony, and so knocked on the balcony door to be let in, because we probably didn't want to go through the... Or
Through the
actually,
lobby?
Amber would suggest, we don't want to go through the lobby dressed like this, just because we don't want to attract that much attention.
No, we do not.
Okay. So in that case, she's gonna...
Glass door.
In that case, when she answers, she says, "You must be Cameron's friends. I
Yeah.
suppose I should have expected that any friends of his would come through the least traditional entrance."
We do our best.
Ghost's brain does this thing where she thinks to herself, I'm going to have to start wearing nicer lipstick with all these hot women around.
Hi, I'm Amber, by the way.
Morgana, she gives you a very delicate handshake.
Yeah. Amber's handshake is about the limpest, weakest handshake you have ever felt.
Not because she doesn't know how to give a good handshake, because she doesn't want to break someone's hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
And Ghost says, I'm Ghost.
She shakes your hand as well, and then she kind of steps aside and gestures for you to come in. So Cameron intimated that you needed some help.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Grand Theurge has stolen fragments of the Crystal Heart, from which Leviathan, an Atlantean general of some kind, guard of some kind, came out of. And may or may not have taken a fragment or two of a
Atlantean
Amazonian dagger.
Oh, Amazonian, yeah. It, which is really sharp, and yes, he did get a piece of that. I tried to stop him, but it caused an explosion, but he did get it.
She says, "Well, the two of you certainly know how to get right down to business. I'm afraid Atlanteans are well outside my area of expertise. However, is he calling himself the Grand Theurge now? He always did have a head that was too big, an ego that was too big for his shoulders."
That's the name we've heard. If you have a better one, I would be useful too.
Well, the High Theurge, I think, was his title his self-appointed title at one point. But my parents simply referred to him as the Theurge. I think they were trying to deny him any sense of grandiosity that he might have taken upon himself. But that's more pettiness than it is actual useful information. So perhaps we'll skip past that. You said an Amazonian dagger, and she kind of like gestures you in and like has you sit. There's already like room service has brought up like a tea service and everything that's set up and everything, and she kind of like wordlessly kind of like gestures for you to sit down and have some tea. And she sits and picks up a cup, kind of crosses one leg over the other, and says, "So the Amazons, that's well, that's an interesting bit of arcana, I suppose. Supposedly wiped out ages ago, but these things tend to not be entirely true. Usually there's some bloodline here or there.
I'm learning this. I am learning this.
The dagger itself, these things are often central components or central elements of of rituals and things of that nature. So I imagine that if the Theurge needed this dagger and the heart, well, Atlanteans and Amazons were mortal enemies back when they were both prominent and numerous. So it's interesting that he would need both for whatever it is he's planning.
Well, could it be like a matter antimatter thing where he wants to make a big explosion by putting the two things together?
Possibly, but the Theurge was never one for wanton destruction. He fancied himself more of a mastermind, someone who
Nope.
was destined to rule over all those around him. Again, an ego.
As someone who's incapable of touching the Amazonian dagger, I did learn, thanks to Amber, that she can be hurt by it.
Which is really rare.
And I doubt she's Atlantean, but it's possible it's just because it's mystical. I don't know much about the arts, but either the magic the Theurge was using, or she's Atlantean, and I don't know which.
She says she picks up one of the like knives that came with the tea set, and she kind of leans over to Amber and she says, "May I?" and kind of like gestures the knife at your arm.
Oh, sure.
And she-
Amber, by the way, has a notepad and pen out and is basically keeping notes.
I picked up on that you did that. I was like, you must be in character.
But yeah, no, she'll just hold her arm out. Go ahead.
Okay. She gives a pretty solid jab. Like, she's not got super strength or anything like that, but it doesn't bend the knife, but it definitely like slides right off your skin.
Yeah.
And did it hurt you? Did it draw blood?
The Amazonian one, yeah, it actually cut me. It was very sharp. That's what made me realize it was serious.
If you'll allow me, and she kind of messes around with the tea set for a second, and ultimately like ends up taking some of the strained the tea leaves out of the tea strainer. Like she swigs back her cup of tea, and then like tosses some tea leaves in the bottom of the cup with a little bit of water, and kind of like spins it around for a second, and then kind of looks into it. And she looks at Amber, and she says, "Do you know much about your family tree?"
No.
You may want to look into that.
Why?
Well,
I know mom and dad. They're fine, but
are either of them Greek, perchance?
no. Not that I know of.
Well,
You're both born right here in Portland, as far as I know.
Well, the Amazonian steel was... It excelled at dealing with their enemies, the Atlanteans, but there's also a very common sort of rule in magic that oftentimes the only thing that can hurt a magical being is itself.
Okay.
And so if this Amazonian steel was so easily able to pierce your skin, it's possible that your lineage has some Amazonian somewhere in it.
Wait, are you saying I'm magic?
All right. Do you have anything in particular you want to do next, or are you heading right back to the headquarters?
That's something
Yeah.
that he thinks of.
I need.
Speaking.
I mean, I could try to postcard track the creature, but there's no guarantee that'll work, and we may not be ready for that. So,
I think you need to take a break.
lab time. Yeah, I need to. Yeah, and I think I might know who the dragon person is, but I need to do some research to be sure.
I guess we're sitting in the car at this point, talking over.
Okay.
Else.
Well, it sounds to me like you are going to take a little bit of a breather. So, KJ, go ahead and draw your card back that you took earlier, or the damage from the damage you took earlier, and then, wow, KJ's feeling very punchy.
What?
Punchy and dodgy, punchy and dodgy.
Exactly. Now, this is where that second version use of leadership could come in handy, where you basically take cards and swap them, so you've got a little bit more variety in your hands. So
Strength skills, so
that's true, but you do have some some things that could help you out in a punchy situation.
it's true. And I suspect that KJ has a few agility tricks up their sleeve.
Couple.
Yeah. Okay, so you're heading back to the headquarters. What are the two of you doing? Because it sounds like you're both kind of just stepping into separate rooms to pursue your own lines of investigation. So what's the plan?
I guess the first thing is the actual analysis of those samples.
Which one are you going to start with?
I'll start with the blood sample.
From the dragon?
Yeah.
Okay. And KJ?
Yeah, I'm gonna start the wizard guy, dragon man. I'm thinking that's Theurge, but I want to try to verify that.
Okay.
So, and I also want to see if I can learn anything about this creature that he summoned, because I saw it and I saw what it did, and see if I can figure out what that is.
Okay.
And I don't remember. On a meta level, I think I know what that is. Does KJ know that story at all? I don't remember.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is something that your mom and dad would have talked to you about several times.
Okay. So
for those of you at home, just in case anybody's not aware, KJ has a unique hindrance that we came up with called a legacy enemy. Basically, KJ's family has a nemesis that has sworn to destroy them, and actions against that enemy are at least one level of difficulty higher. Plus, there are some other complications that'll come into play. So that's what KJ's talking about. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. So probably at some point, once I've closed out the research on both of those things, I'm probably going to call the parents.
Okay. Well, let's do some of those hard-hitting research montages first, I think. Yeah, exactly.
Pouring things into vials, consulting charts, pushing possums off the desk and waving at them when they try and mess
Don't
with
lick blood sample.
Don't eat the blood sample. All right.
I might set KJ's samples that he so kindly gave me to process as well.
Okay.
Is it likely I'm going to be very familiar with this sample from KJ when I analyze it? From doing the analysis.
Yes.
When he was but a nipper.
Yes.
I had a similar question. Post possuming, has her voice changed?
No, it's really the same.
Okay.
Same, slightly sarky, cynical Boston, New York accent.
All right. So we're back in, and so we're basically going to be jumping into a little bit of research here. It sounds to me like KJ, you are probably going to be doing some research based on history and things like that. So that'll be an intellect action, which sadly you don't have an appropriate skill for. And then So computers is more about rearranging, restructuring, building, fixing, things like that. I'll give you a +1 on it. Why not?
I'll take it.
You can you know how to get the most out of a computer to get good results. Like all the Boolean operators and things like that to get the most efficient search engine performance. And then, Dr. Scott, this is going to be an intellect action. This is going to be using probably genetics, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I need to take so many skills. Ugh.
Next, you know what? KJ, I will bump it up another +1 for a total of +2, because I'm going to assume that the Vigilantes Union has a very comprehensive database on people of note. So the fact that you have that at your disposal will give you a little bit of an extra edge on that.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, whoever wants to play first, let's go seniority. Dr. Scott, why don't you go first?
Okay. Right. I'm going to throw out 6 of agility.
Oh, I was like 6 of...
Revelation seems appropriate. Also, I love Electra, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
All today as well. So.
You are. It's a very Electra style shirt too. Okay, so you know what? Yeah, I'll take that into account that event. That's giving you a total of a 15. Yes. Okay. Perfect. KJ, go ahead and throw me an intellect action if you would, please.
Yes, I will do so. Hulk smash.
Yeah, Hulk smash science. All right.
Hulk smash research.
Yeah, exactly. 20. No, that's actually okay. That's pretty damn good. Okay. So here's what we're gonna find. So Dr. Scott, the sample you got from the dragon is actually totally human. It comes back not abnormal at all. And so, what you do, however, kind of piece together is that this individual, this dragon man, most likely what he was wearing is what allows him to make the transformation. It's not an inherent ability. And that is kind of where the accidental revelation is going to come in. If you can get that off of him,
yeah, he
can't do it anymore. The other thing, is I imagine you've probably been carrying around like this fairly beat up USB drive for ages that's got like all the different samples and data and like information about the donors, I guess, like tissue donors and whatnot. Yeah. And the sample you got from KJ pings as being like a really high percentage match with a previously collected sample, like within the same genetic family unit. Before we get into that, though, we're going to cut over and we're going to do KJ. So KJ, you're kind of going through and you're doing kind of a joint search on the Vigilantes Union database, as well as kind of like your own thing, just kind of like through Google and like what's available online. What you find is that this actually probably isn't Theurge. In fact, Theurge. So one of the things specifically in the Vigilantes Union database that you find is that not commonly available knowledge to the public is that Theurge had a tendency to sort of cultivate a a following. Basically, would find people with certain ties to kind of like animalistic spirits or animalistic creatures, and would basically subjugate them, basically bind them to his service. It's sort of a trend that this Theurge follows. One of the people that Theurge was successful in doing this with was another kind of like arcanist from probably like 1960s-ish era. There was an individual known as Mandrake that was not really a villain, but definitely not a hero. Definitely like out for his own personal profit. Who was somehow able to get a hold of, he was kind of a magician himself, and he was able to get a hold of some relic that lets him take the form of a dragon. And once he had basically kind of linked himself with this relic, Theurge, and the two of them basically had like a kind of a feud going, and Theurge was able to basically bind this Mandrake guy to his will. And so more than likely this Mandrake is serving Theurge rather than acting of his own accord. You can both go and draw your cards back, by the way.
Alright, not a strength card. Let's go.
I mean, it's not a strength card.
It's not. That's what I asked for. Yeah.
And I got the strength card.
You guys are just trading cards back and forth at this point. That's funny. Okay, so yeah. That is the information that you guys find out. I can close his. And okay. I'm going to say that as KJ, as you're finishing up this research, and you're kind of like, okay, well, I should probably call. Your phone rings, and it's Dad.
Oh, hey, Dad. I was actually just about to call you.
It's back.
Yeah.
You already know?
Yes. I was checking out a crime scene, and I was post-cogging the victim, and said victim was used in a ritual to bring it back, and it saw me in the post-cog.
He,
I don't know, but it definitely saw me.
Says, all right, well, I want you to watch your back. I'm going to reach out to my source, the one that warned me that it was back. I'm going to see if there's anything we can do about it.
Okay.
It'll probably take a few days, but I'll be in Portland as soon as I can.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
Okay. He says, is that going to be a problem, with the union and everything like that?
I'm sure we can get you, a temporary consultancy badge or something. You are the foremost expert on this thing.
All right. I'll let you know when I'm on my way. And he hangs up.
That's what I need. Okay. Okay.
So.
It's not going to take over. He's just trying to be helpful.
Yay, familial issues. All right.
Yeah.
proceed. Sorry,
Oh.
I wanted to jump in with that.
Yeah, go check and see how the good doctor's doing in the lab.
So, the good doctor has just been poring over these samples and is quite interested. When KJ relayed all the stuff that he saw in the vision, the post-cog vision, you mentioned that the dragon thing turned back into a person wearing a sort of scaly thing and all that. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that thing is the
Oh, yeah.
relevant item in question. At least that's the theory she's working with. And, like, before he gets there, she's just been going through his samples as well. She, like, frowns and goes, where have I seen that before? Why is that so familiar? I recognize that DNA sequence. She goes and checks the old DISCAD, the New York Supergenomics Analysis database. Many years ago. Her eyes kind of widen, and I guess when KJ comes in, she kind of just like closes her laptop and like, and oh, you snuck up on me there. You find out anything interesting, KJ?
Yeah. Turned out
Find out anything interesting, KJ? Like she was gonna say something else.
Yeah, the dragon guy goes by Mandrake. Not actually the Theurge, he just is a slave of the Theurge, I guess is probably the most appropriate terminology.
Tell me a bit more about this Theurge.
I don't know a lot. He's searching for magical artifacts. I just finished a case a couple of days ago where a magical locket was stolen from a local here in town, and yeah, Theurge hired possibly Coyote and Dark Vengeance to obtain this locket. Definitely Coyote. I'm not. Dark Vengeance had the locket. He stole it before Coyote could steal it. But the locket turned out to be useless to Theurge because it only works with the family line. But he's in town looking for magical garbage. And
It's a little bit out of my league. I don't know.
out of mine too.
Magic.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's gotta be some sort of scientific explanation for it, though.
Maybe. As far as the thing that Mandrake summoned, for some reason he wanted a piece of it, which I can only assume means Theurge wanted a piece of it. But it's an entity known as Vorax. My father has dealt with it in the past, and we thought maybe it was dealt with permanently, but not so much now. And Dad's actually going to be in town in a few days to help? Question mark.
Your dad.
Yeah.
So let's briefly panicked. That's a Drake, right? That right, kiddo?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gotta be. It's
For
gonna
good
be.
or bad, my father is the Drake.
Well, he probably just wants to make sure you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think this family connection thing's gonna be a problem for you? This borax thing?
The way it looked at me? Probably.
Yeah. Well,
The
I
fact
guess
that
I'm
it
not
looked-
surprised. These things always seem to happen with supers. You try and keep a sort of professional level of detachment, but inevitably you always end up facing someone that yada yada yada, ancient nemesis, all that. I've seen it loads of times before.
Does seem to be a trend, yeah. What'd you learn?
Got one useful little bit of information. It's the dragon thing,
Mandrake, yeah.
Mandrake. I don't think it's some sort of innate power. Just a man with a fancy suit or piece of technology, magical artifact, potato.
The vest he was wearing, the scales.
Yeah. Exactly. We get that off him, he's got nothing. So that's a little bit of good news. On
I
the
might be
bad
fast.
news side, I can't make head nor tail of it. Guy's just a man. But I got his DNA. We can give that off to the police. So whoever secret identity he thinks he has, he's not gonna be able to keep it secret for long.
Well, yeah, and I mean, having matched the DNA, we have actual evidence.
Actually, weird quirk about the Vigilantes Union is that they are equally as strict about maintaining secret identities of villains as they are heroes. So
Not gonna keep it secret from us for long.
right. Like, you guys can know it, but giving that over to the police might actually cause some problems.
So, I'm gonna ask you to play ball. I know we said we'd share stuff with the police, but you know the union rules, so...
Well, I mean, I'm assuming once we found the blood, they took their own sample. They should have their own database. They'll at least know it's Mandrake if his DNA is on file.
Yes, I don't know what police have access to and what they don't have access to. All I know is we're gonna keep everyone's identities hush-hush, or at least in the community.
Yeah, but we can at least tell them that the perpetrator of the crime is Mandrake. He's the one who committed the murder. That's information we can't share. They don't need to know that. Yeah.
The door to the
Leaving
lab
police
opens.
dumb for a little bit just now. I don't have to tell you. I don't think much of the police.
The door opens to the lab, and Deirdre walks in. And she kind of marches right up to KJ, and she puts her hands on her hips, and she says, "What are you doing inviting a non-union hero into the city?"
I didn't invite him. He said he was coming. And
All I know is that I overheard you tell Dr. Scott here that the Drake was coming to the city.
yeah.
Spying on
You-
us, Deirdre? Is this how you're gonna operate this whole time?
You can read
Dr.
Chap-
Scott has her hands on her hips.
Chapter 3, page 7, paragraph 4, regarding surveillance and monitoring of Vigilantes Union property, Dr. Scott, if you have a problem with it.
You not got anything better to do?
No, this is my job.
Okay, fine.
I understand your concern, but this is...
Oh, it's not a
Something-
concern. If the Drake shows up here, and he attempts to engage in anything, even remotely related to vigilante work, I expect you to apprehend him, as per your contract.
Look, it's a family visit, so back off, Deirdre.
You've been around long enough. I'm sure you remember the Vorax incident.
I'm aware, I've read your file, and your father's file.
It's back. That's why he's coming.
Well, In that case, I expect you to ensure that he is sipping Mai Tais and giving you information. He dons a suit in this city. Either he goes or you do. And she turns and she leaves.
Scott just rolls her eyes and gives a sideways glance at KJ.
The second name is Stefan Amaris, who seems to be a Middle Eastern businessman. He had filed a missing persons report was filed for him, but got lost in the jurisdictional shuffle because apparently Mr. Amaris was supposed to be going on vacation. He has family back in Egypt, and that's who reported him missing, and that's why there was a whole jurisdictional thing. They reported him missing because he didn't arrive when he was supposed to for his flight, and he was missing for about a week. And then he showed up again, kind of with a similar report where this person basically sort of jumped him at home, took over his life for a week. Because Mr. Amaris lived alone, the person had a lot more autonomy kind of at Mr. Amaris's residence, and was a lot more open about sort of asking questions of Mr. Amaris, about personal details about his life and things like that. Again, didn't actually Mr. Amaris didn't actually come to harm or anything like that. But he definitely felt as if, according to his report, this person had a much more antagonistic kind of view of him. It was much more aggressive in some of its questioning and things like that. So it's a very different kind of vibe behind it, but still has a still has a very similar kind of MO sort of feel to both of those police reports. Basically, the detective says the reason these two cases reports kind of stood out is because, we have a small department here that's responsible for looking into the really bizarre, reports.
Got your own X-Files going on down there?
He says, I wish. The guys working that desk are not necessarily the cream of the crop, but, I guess they can't all be Dana Scullys, so.
Isn't that the truth? Okay, well, that's really helpful, Detective. That gives us something to go on. If I hear anything more, I'll get in touch with you. If you get any more of these weird cases, let me know. I got a hint that things might get worse from here on in, so just be ready for it.
Says, well, thanks for the heads up.
Hey, give my best to your daughter.
I'm going to assume that he sends that information over to you via text as well. And just streamlining things a little bit here, probably sends it to both compiler and to Dr. Scott kind of jointly as a, or to the team inbox or whatever the case may be.
Got a WhatsApp group or something.
Yeah, exactly. And as those names kind of come in and pop up on your inbox compiler, sort of just kind of reflexively, that those names kind of get fed into your search through the TikTok algorithms, the social media stuff. and it helps you kind of narrow in on an account that it seems like it's one of those accounts that it's fairly de-identified. Like there's no personal information on the account specifically, but it's one of those that is sort of like posting like, oh yeah, I tagged graffiti in this place, or like this is where you can go if you want to pick up some, some good weed or whatever. Like it's what I think the police might call like antisocial behavior. It's nothing like really egregiously criminal, but it definitely is like not on the mainstream side of like society and kind of social media content. But there is one post of whoever owns the account. Like he's got his hood up, he's got a bandana across his face, and he's got sunglasses on, and he's kind of using one of those like voice filter type of or voice modulator filters. And basically he kind of goes on a rant about like, it just had something really weird happen. Someone tried to take over my life, and, like kind of, it sounds very crazy conspiracy theorist, but it has enough similarity with those other reports that like it filters to the top of your search. So rather coincidentally, the two pieces of information, the two lines of inquiry, have sort of dovetailed into you finding this new lead.
Okay.
Seems rather improbable, if not impossible. But I mean, that's the card that was played, so I can run with it.
Much appreciated. You said this account is pretty de-anonymized. Would it be possible to figure out, like... You said it was giving locations, graffiti tags, weed pickups, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be possible to triangulate a sort of general area that this might have happened in?
Give me... This will be an intellect action. I don't think you have...
I don't have, like, geography or anything.
Yeah,
so...
I don't think you have the appropriate skill for it, but it will be an intellect action nonetheless.
All right. Let's go ahead and hit it with the blue card.
Yeah. Intellect cards for intellect actions. Oh, nice. With another one.
Okay.
All right, so that's another card. And a 6. Okay, I mean, that's not bad.
Okay.
That's actually really good now that I put the numbers together.
Yeah, I think that is a 24 altogether.
That is a 24. I'm going to go ahead and draw myself a card for that beautiful, beautiful Doom card you just played. And then the others will get discarded, and you can go ahead and draw your card back. 24 is... So, I would say that the likelihood that this would draw the attention of the authorities, because it's so, like, kind of trivial, like, petty stuff, such trivial, petty stuff, is pretty minimal. If they really, really wanted to, they could probably do a lot of, like, digging and whatnot to find out where this person is posting from, or, like, where the area they're operating in. But you're able to crunch the numbers in probably about 45 minutes to an hour, which is a very quick turnaround time. You basically determine... One second here while I... pull up a map of Portland, Oregon, so I can kind of identify where this is going to be.
So one case of this is like, one case is a coincidence, 2 is a working theory, but 3, that's some actionable statistics. You managed to get a hit on that yet?
Indeed. I must confess I am slightly alarmed. Apparently something attempted to take over this young criminal's life. If Facelift is indeed sliding into more criminal behavior, that could make it more difficult to isolate it.
Yeah, I was worried about something like that. You ever read those studies of how that chatbot got turned into a Nazi by people trolling?
I cannot say that I have, but please, just give me 1 minute. Ah, yes, that would be a most unfortunate result.
Yeah, no kidding. I never liked all this AI stuff. I mean, present company accepted, of course.
So, based on what you're able to kind of put together, you are fairly confident that this person is actually you're certain that this person either resides in or very close to kind of the Goose Hollow kind of neighborhood. There's a Goose Hollow Tower. There's like a park and everything around there. It's it's kind of like inner city-ish. Like it's not out in the boondocks by any means. And it is actually very close to the Pearl District Cleaners, where the first missing persons report came from. Kind of corroborating what you're looking for.
If we plot these 3 cases on a map, can we get a sort of triangulation sort of thing, or was the case of the businessman way further away? Or
so actually, if you look up his address, he actually is staying. Let's see. Yeah, he's staying very kind of in the same general area. They're all within probably. Hold on, let's see. Let me do a quick. Whoops, Pearl. What is it called? Pearl District Cleaners. So what is that? So yeah, it's all probably within like a 1 square mile radius, like area that all these things have taken place.
well, I guess the good news is this chicken hasn't strayed too far from the coop for now. How far is Hark from these locations?
Hark is... Whoops, that is not what I wanted to do. So Hark is kind of downtown. So probably... So it's near the Oregon Convention Center. It's about 3 miles away on the other... if you were to go on surface streets. It's actually a fairly... it's just under 2 miles away via the shortest distance. And it's on the other side of the river. So, it's feasible that that Facelift basically sort of left Hark and traveled far enough away that it could find someone to impersonate to sort of blend in with the crowd, and then kind of was operating in that general vicinity while it figured out what its plan was.
Okay.
One other thing you do pick up, compiler, from kind of looking at this account's activity is the graffiti tag on it. It looks like it's a very stylized letter D and a letter S.
D-S.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure we could find that specific tag. I don't know how to trace it back to the person who would... Well, I suppose I could run some sort of proximity selection to locate folks in that area with those initials, but as of now, the only DS I'm aware of is you, Doctor, and I don't think that's quite...
Give me a moment. Maybe I can maybe I can talk to some friends of mine. Running low circles, you might say.
Are you gonna go to that area and talk to the local possums?
I absolutely should, but I don't know how they'd even know who some random guy was. Unless he's been feeding them drugs or something. I suppose I could start with the local possums. I was mainly thinking about calling some of my less than reputable friends in the underworld and seeing if
I see.
they might be able to. Leveraging my contacts a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I will also suggest that maybe we should check out the area. But like, the only trouble is neither of us are exactly unnoticeable, if you know what I mean.
That was my concern. I fear that if Facelift sees us, it may rabbit.
Maybe
Is that the
can
appropriate
rope
term?
in-
I've heard people say that.
Maybe I can rope in some of my friends, and if not, there's always the possums.
There's
I
always
think
the possums
Compiler
indeed.
just sort of stops and looks around at the possums all over the place and then back up. And, I did not realize there was communication happening. I thought they were simply causing trouble.
Yeah, I mean, mainly they're causing trouble, but they all got a good heart.
Hey, that is coordinated trouble. Thank you very much. They go to a lot of effort to do that. What did I do? Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, so who are you going to call in particular, or are you kind of just like generally putting some feelers out between people that you have made connections with?
I think it might be good to call specifically. Oh God, I've forgotten her name now. Third last.
Cardinal?
Third last. Cardinal! That's right. I might try calling Cardinal, because she's the most accessible person, and also, yeah. Yeah, I think so. She's also the most human-looking of them, apart from the wings, right?
So, what are you calling her for exactly? Information, or because you want her to go take a look around the area?
I'm gonna call up and just have a natural conversation with her. I'm gonna call up and say,
Okay.
"Hey, how's it going?"
She says, "Well, I mean, things are interesting. Little bit tense around here lately. Warwick is, well, he's a new dynamic for sure. He and Eel have been sort of vying for, who's in charge, and well, Warwick and Coyote definitely don't get along. They've gotten into a couple scuffles since Warwick showed up. But
Yeah. You wanna give a word to him? Just tell him that I might have had a bit of a run-in with Mandrake. I think he'll know what that means.
yeah, I'll pass the information.
But I'm really I wanted to check how you were doing. Not got into too much trouble just now. I know things are difficult right now because I got hooked up with the union and all, but I just want you to know that I'm still here for you. Okay?
I appreciate that. And yeah, so far, Warwick has kind of been keeping us out of trouble. But I think, well, I don't know. I'm sure it's fine.
Well, look, just give me a call whenever. I do need you for something right now, though. If you can spare a little bit of time.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe some of the boys, maybe they know about some dealer or something down in this area. I'll give the general district.
Okay.
Initials DS. I don't know if anyone you know, in any word on the street, having any dealings with someone like that, but it's kind of important we find whoever he is. And if not, we could really do with someone getting some eyes on the ground down there. I mean, I go myself, but the person I'm working with, like, right now, like, neither of us are exactly, you know, ready to be dealing with the general public. You get it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
You always the best face. You always the best face for all of us, Angel.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. I'll talk to Coyote. He knows a lot of people kind of on that side of the fence. He'll probably want something for it.
Oh yeah, I know. But
All right, well,
that's how we work, isn't it?
yeah, as long as you're willing to reimburse me for whatever business expenses this might I'll make sure I get it
Oh
done.
sure. One good thing now is I got an expense account. It's great. I'll find some way to get the money to you.
I know you will. Do me a favor, just send me everything you know about this guy. That way, you know, the less time I have to spend nudging Coyote in the right direction, the better. So.
Only, yeah, I'll send you what I got. But, this other stuff I probably shouldn't share. You know, Coyote's ambitions, they always get me a little bit worried sometimes.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
Okay, Cardi. I'll send it now.
Cardi, I like that. She hangs up. No, not precisely. The Amazons were...
You've seen Xena Warrior Princess? The Amazons, big, buff women, did lots of fighting?
Right, yeah, no, I know what an Amazon is. I'm just, see, I don't really know where my powers come from, and I really don't, I haven't looked into it. Not really that interested in finding out. So when you said that, it hurts a magic thing, a magic person is hurt by their own magic or can hurt themselves, something like that. I mean, I think I could probably hurt myself if I tried. But anyway, the thing is that if you were saying that I'm magic, I'm not sure if that is real or if you had any sort of insight there.
It's not so much that you yourself are magic, more a matter of... Like I myself, my family line, we have certain idiosyncrasies that are born of magic, but I myself am not magical. In the same way, most likely, I can't say this for certain without a great deal more effort put into it, it may be a matter of someone in your ancestry being infused directly with the magic of the Amazons, and that simply passing down to you through lineage and through blood. And so far removed would make it more of a recessive genetic trait, I think. But these things are very rarely set in stone or easily defined. It could be a little bit of both. You didn't happen to dabble in any witchcraft or magic when you were younger, did you? Something that might have...
That whole stiff as a board, light as a feather, does that count?
I'm afraid I don't know what that's referring to, dear.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing girls do where 3 or 4 will pick up another with just a couple fingers, and everybody will chant, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yeah.
Oh.
There were a couple times it didn't work, but I just stuck a hand underneath, and that made it easier. But in general, it's I think it's supposed to be hypnosis.
I don't think that would count, but
yeah.
Perhaps. It's something we can discuss further at a future time.
I'd be interested in that.
I would be happy to. I'd be happy to walk you through it. I very rarely get the chance to delve into these topics. I'm actually quite pleased that the vote passed for the Union because it means that, things should be a little bit more interesting in coming years. So,
I hope
But-
they don't get too interesting. That's kind of our job, is to stop them from getting really interesting. But at least the conversations about them will be better, right?
exactly. So, the Theurge has a piece about the heart and an Amazonian dagger, and now, potentially, theorizing, Amazonian blood.
Would he need Atlantean blood?
I suppose that is possible, depending on what exactly it is that he's trying to do. Again, Atlanteans
That
are
would
not
make me
my
the target.
forte. So you are Atlantean.
I've been inside the Crystal Heart. Theorized that I was that's the only reason I could enter it.
Couldn't he have gotten that from the body of Leviathan?
That's also possible. But Leviathan wasn't really there. Leviathan died millennia ago.
Oh,
Oh, that rarely makes much difference when it comes to matters of the arcane. Many masters of mystical arts are resistant to death. Let's put it that way.
Well, considering I met someone calling themselves the Chancellor who seemed to be living in the heart without food, and possibly the Chancellor says the Emperor is still around, although I don't know which I was actually talking to at this point. That's yeah. Not surprising.
She gets up while you're talking and she walks over to a bookcase. It's clear that she's had someone move a lot of her personal belongings into the suite with her while she's living here. And she kind of scans and takes out a couple old leather journals. And she kind of opens them up and flips through them. And she says, "You mentioned a crystal heart, and that is jogging a memory. Yes, here we go. My father, in his dealings with the Theurge, made note of the fact that he had some sort of strange crystal object that he had been studying, and he had learned how to. He used it to essentially learn how to siphon off fragments of a being's essence." And he has something of an obsession with linking powerful essences with suitable vessels and turning them to his own needs. In particular, he seems to focus on more animalistic entities and spirits. He created several servants back in the day in this matter.
Leviathan would definitely have counted. The man could shift between human and fish.
Some sort
And
of
when I
sea
say
serpent.
fish, I mean the biblical Leviathan.
Yes, I remember seeing the news footage of the thing appearing at Portland State campus. That would certainly be within his realm of expertise. It's possible that he also saw that footage and has decided that he has to somehow harness that power.
Well, if I was able to beat Leviathan before, would he try and harness it into someone stronger?
Most likely he would need to couple the essence with a physical, corporeal form. So you may be a perfect candidate for that.
Or Amber? who is next to invulnerable.
Maybe.
Yeah, but if you're tied to Atlantis, then a big fish thing seems more like your kind of thing than mine.
But you're stronger than me. You can fly, and this is public knowledge. Everybody has seen you do this.
Right.
And now he has your blood.
Well, yeah, but I don't want him to.
And that's why we need to figure out how to track your blood, or at least the shards of the heart, or or the dagger. One of the three. If we could track that, we could maybe find him and stop him from doing whatever he's trying.
Okay. Do you know how to do that?
That's why we're here.
Okay.
Ms. Fayette, can you assist in a tracking spell, maybe?
She says, I'm more of a student of magic than I am a practitioner. I'm well versed in the theories and such, but and some of the history and persons of interest, but without knowing exactly what the goal is, or exactly what the exactly what ritual the Theurge is trying to perform, it's difficult to say one way or another. I suppose there is always the old attempt to use some bait to lure them out gag.
Well, I actually think I might know someone who might be able to help. Do we have another piece of the dagger or of the heart?
Theurge took it all from the interview room.
We have your hair.
Hmm?
That is true. We could attempt to trace the blood.
That's my only thought. Otherwise, do you happen to know any reporters, Amber, who could make an announcement on where you might be found?
Yes. I could do that. I was just hoping that if we had something else that was like the crystal or something we could track it away that's not magical. I actually know a scientist who is really good at tracking things down with their signatures and stuff. We also can. Do we know? I mean, you said you knew this this Theurge before. Are there any names he used other than the Grand Theurge or the Theurge?
Sadly, one of the things that many practitioners learn early on is to be very, very cagey with one's true name. I can assure you that Morgana Fayette is not my real name.
Right, of course. Okay.
But I could, in theory, issue an invitation to him.
He would take it?
I believe that a member of my family reaching out to him would pique his interest and his ego sufficiently that he would be unable to resist.
Knowing what happened to your place of residence, I doubt we'd be doing it here in your temporary abode. Where would we put this meeting together at?
Well, I suppose that is going to depend on whether or not you want it to be public or more secluded.
Ghost votes for secluded because it keeps people safe.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
The only reason she got into this line of work.
That is Amber's main priority, is keeping people safe. So,
She says, well, my family does own a small rural property out on the river, not too far from here. Mostly use it during the summers and things like that. I would be staying there now, except it was also undergoing renovations. Poor timing, I suppose.
That seems like a good choice.
yeah.
All right. Well, I will. You'll forgive me if I don't let you in on the exact avenue by which I issue the invitation. People in these circles tend to be very secretive unless they've specifically desired to be more publicly known.
No, it's fine. Here, I provide my ghost phone number.
The union provided phone number that all of you have.
Yes.
Okay. She takes it and she'll write down like her number. She says, "I haven't really ever gotten used to these new mobile phones," but she hands over a piece of paper. Like it's like a business card, but it's handwritten with her name and number on it. She says, "I'm afraid that's one of the things that I always struggle to keep up with is advances in technology."
Well, one does what they can.
Yeah. Seems like they come out with a new phone every 6 months or so.
I've stopped keeping track, quite frankly.
Yeah.
She says, "I'm quite happy." She holds up it's basically like a Razr flip phone. She's like, "I'm quite happy with, I believe this is where technology peaked."
Oh, they have a new one of those now. It's the same, it still folds like that and everything, but it has a better screen on it.
It's a touch screen, yes?
Yeah.
I suppose one of these days I'll have to pick one up just for the novelty, but...
I'm just curious how many spares she has to get them repaired. Doing the John Rhys Davies thing where he's got 3 phones. One in repair, one in the drawer, and one on his person.
It's difficult to say. But yeah, she says, I should have something set up. I'll send him a request that he will want to respond to promptly. So I imagine tomorrow night will be
Excellent.
enough time.
We appreciate your assistance.
Wonderful. And should we show up, as superheroes, or should we, are you going to say that, probably not normal people, but, not superheroes wanted to meet him?
I won't be mentioning the two of you at all, so best that you were to show up early in order to not be seen arriving, if possible.
Okay. Oh, and can we get the address for your place that we should go?
Oh, of course. And she'll write it out for you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, would you prefer I was there or not? I know
Your safety is of importance as well.
Yeah. Probably
And
best,
it's up to you how safe you feel being there.
I'll be honest. The Therage doesn't. I would rather not be in his presence.
Then we'll not expect you.
Wonderful.
You say it's under renovation, so will we need a key, or...
Oh no, I imagine you'll be approaching from the same way you approached the hotel room, and
Right.
you'll be able to find it easily enough.
We should probably, meet him outside just in case things get violent. Because we don't, she's already repairing the building once. We don't want to make her do it again.
Just well, if it were to be destroyed, I suppose I could write the whole thing off as an insurance loss and then start from scratch. So I'm not saying that's my preference, just that it wouldn't be a huge loss.
We'll
Alright.
see what happens as we go. Thank you.
Of course. She wraps a couple little tea sandwiches in some napkins and hands them to you. She says,
Thank
"I'll
you.
never be able to eat all of this, so please."
Ghost did
There's
have a
actually
couple of stones, but
there is surprisingly less that she probably thinks there is when she looks.
Yeah.
Because Cooper's just been kind of sneaking some every now and again. Not trying to be, blatantly starved, but
I'll tell you what.
you burn a lot of calories, child. You burn a lot of calories.
yes,
Yeah, that flying is that's definitely gonna burn some energy. But also those tea sandwiches and everything. Like you sit down for tea service and you're like, I'm probably gonna be hungry after this. By the time I'm done, I'm always stuffed. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a Queen's tea service. It was wow.
Yeah. Very, very. I'm very fond of them. My wife was like, "You're gonna like this, trust me." And I was like, "I don't know." She was right.
yeah.
All right. So you have a bit of time. What are you gonna do between now and then?
Well,
Ghost is going to go back to campus,
okay,
finish up for the day,
right.
and then research magical charms as quick as possible.
Okay. What specifically are you looking like? What are you trying to find?
She's looking for a quick protection charm that she can put on herself, and possibly, one for Amber as well. Because, quite frankly, she doesn't know what to expect in this case, but if it's magic, I guess I can do something.
Okay. It really would be more helpful if the local 13 had a resident spellcaster, but unfortunately,
Amber,
Good.
Ghost might be texting the somebody from one of the other chapters.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Okay, so you can either do the research, or another option.
Uh-huh.
There is actually someone in the general area that might have some expertise in this matter. One of your team members recently had a run-in with a member of the unofficial superhero team known as the Scabs. They are a group of heroes, anti-heroes, mercenaries that they do superheroics, but they are also a little bit more profit-oriented. And so they will often expect payment after the fact. But there is a member of this team known as Bulwark, who is a guy who runs around in this big suit of magical armor, who is knowledgeable on the occult and things of that nature. So this would be very much against union bylaws, but if you wanna float out hey, I'm willing to pay you for your time, it might be a way to get some help a little bit faster, because the other unions tend to be busy and who knows when they'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Or you could try doing it yourself and maybe blow up the school.
So I think Dr. Scott is still slightly concerned about KJ's father turning up, and somehow, though it would be quite difficult recognizing Dr. Scott.
I mean, that voice is somewhat recognizable. He is also a detective, so you know.
Yeah. So I guess like mainly, and she's just come up. She's just gone through and got this genetic proof that KJ is indeed the child of her friends, or possibly former friends, given that she faked her own death and disappeared. So I imagine when they get a quiet moment, once Deirdre's left, she's like, "Little Nikki? That really you?"
What?
Nikki Robinson Martinez.
Yes.
I'd know that genetic profile anywhere.
Sure.
You don't remember me?
That is such a weird thing to say. Just gotta say that.
Sorry.
You don't remember Annie Heather?
Wait. Hold on. What's Dr. Scott's first name? I can't remember.
Heather.
Heather. Okay. And Heather?
Yeah. Can't believe it.
Look different.
Yeah.
Huh. Wait, you're dead. Hold on.
Yeah. That's kind of what I wanted everyone to think after the accident.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Well,
it's quite hard to explain something like this, you know?
Well, I'm glad you're not dead. Let's start there.
Yeah, this is real awkward.
What happened? What? How?
Let's just say I took a job I shouldn't have taken. So I didn't get disappeared some other way. I kind of faked my own death, my research, and I've been hiding out in the sewers until about like a month ago, so then I got an offer I couldn't refuse. You know how it is.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, jeez. All right.
If this is a shock for you, it's gonna be a real shock for your dad and your mom.
I was just gonna say, yeah. He'll pick up on it much faster than I did, I think. You sounded familiar, but I don't know, there's more than one person from Boston.
There's like 3 people from Boston total, I think. But yeah, it's still technically more than one.
So, and also last time I saw you, I was like 12, I think.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. I don't think you were even that old.
He'll pick up on it pretty quick. Probably. Do you not want him to know?
You know, I really caught me off on the wrong foot here. I didn't ever expect to see Eddie again, so you guys still looking out for my pop?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, he's got
not me personally,
so
but Mom and Dad are on it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it might be best if I just didn't exist for them. I don't know. You know your folks better than me. Well, maybe you don't. I've not seen them in 10 years, though. How are they?
Good. Globetrotting. because since they, can't legally operate in the States. So, but
Yeah, well, can't really blame your mom for that. That was always a independent kind of gal.
yeah. But yeah,
They,
they're
guess she doesn't really approve of you, joining up with the unions.
yeah, well, it's the way things are done, and there are good reasons for it.
Oh, yeah, sure. I always knew you'd go into this line of work. But I didn't expect to be meeting you not here.
No, this is definitely a surprise. Okay. How do we handle this?
Well,
Should I just handle Dad alone? I already to handle him before Deirdre eats my head.
I mean, you gotta keep him out of trouble, at least for now. You know
Yeah.
how he is. He's always gotta do that rude and dark hero thing.
Tell me about it. Convincing him to let me take point is going to be an ordeal, probably.
Well, look, give me a call if it gets out of hand, but maybe I better stay out of the way for now.
If you want, that's your call. I was just going to say that you being there, once he gets over the shock of you being alive, might get him to, like, back off and just play advisor.
Yeah. Maybe
But
you're
that's
right.
your call, of course.
I really wasn't expecting to have to deal with
Oh,
this on top
absolutely.
of everything else, but yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, kid. If nothing else, it might distract him from the situation at hand.
And Dad, if you don't want it moving beyond he'll tell Mom. He's going to tell Mom no matter what. But if you don't want it going beyond the three of us, it won't.
She looks kind of for the first time actually Dr. Scott loses her sort of relaxed countenance and looks like genuinely worried. Like apparently like giant dragon monsters and whatnot doesn't faze her at all, but the thought of actually having to do real awkward interpersonal relation stuff is clearly terrifying for her.
I think we've all been there from time to time, so some people exist there pretty much semi-permanently, which is fine. Okay. So then, are you both planning on basically greeting your dad when he gets to the city? KJ.
I mean, I am.
Okay.
Except for the doc.
I imagine
to
that's
come.
something that you could probably you could probably text him and be like, hey, when and where should we meet you? And he'll give you that information. Question is, are you doing anything in the meantime, or are you basically just prepping for him to arrive? He can get there relatively fast. Like he'll probably be there in a matter of hours.
Yeah. Up on the Drake jet.
Actually, he has an inherent flight ability. Whereas your mother, she has cybernetic wings. So
Yeah, I'll get that information. Yeah. You got a couple hours to kill. You got any
I
ideas?
gotta have a stiff drink before I see Eddie again.
Okay.
he texts you back to meet him. Basically, it's a small suburb that's like right on the edge of like the the official territory that the Portland Union chapter covers. You guys are able to kind of like move outside of that territory a little bit from the perspective of if something happens within your turf and then the villain like leaves within a certain radius, you can kind of go out and operate with and be kind of okay. But like if the villain were to like run to Seattle, then you would no longer have jurisdiction. The Seattle Union would have jurisdiction. Whether or not they would prioritize it is a different matter, but that's, you know. But in this case, the Drake is sort of sharp enough to say, like, I'm not going to fully encroach on the Portland Union's territory without having spoken to KJ in person. He doesn't know that Dr. Scott is going to be there. But in true masked vigilante crime fighter fashion, he basically like says, meet me on the rooftop. And
Can't just go to time.
Can't we just meet at like an Applebee's or something for once, Dad? Just once. My 11th birthday was celebrated on a rooftop. Come on.
Why did he have to pick a building with all these stairs and no lift? No elevator?
Because he can fly. He doesn't think about other people not flying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess
I love him. I love your dad. I love Eddie, but he can be a real dick sometimes.
Yep. All that time in the cave, I think. Right. Well, I guess you go get yourself a stiff drink, and I see if I can't dig anything up on.
Just tell him that your boss is coming to meet him too.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll see if we can surprise him. But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't dig anything up. Look at the past records on Vorax and see if I can't get anything else in a Mandrake and maybe his connections. Whole thing is
That's
weird.
good. You lean into your criminal expertise and criminology expertise, and yeah, you understand the internets and computers and that sort of thing. I kind of been stuck in the lab dealing with genetic code for the better part of 20 years. I kind of missed out on a lot of that.
Sure. Yeah.
I know how to order stuff off Amazon, but that's about it.
Do they deliver to the sewer?
You'd be surprised where they deliver with them drones now.
I'm going to say that that Venkman and Celine, two of your possum posse, they've cued into certain words that they kind of know what they mean. Once they heard you say stiff drink, they come back in with a couple bottles of booze and probably a couple like tumblers or something like that, like some sort of glass.
There's my little lightsabers. Come here. Ruffle them.
They kind of clamber up and like hold onto your coat.
I always give them a bottle cap full as well.
Drunk possum.
Oh, I'm sure the maintenance, whoever is in charge of maintenance here is just like, would you please not get the possums drunk, please? God, that's a whole. In my headcanon, there is a whole dramatic saga going on behind the scenes of like the janitorial or custodial staff having this little like sort of Cold War with the possums in the headquarters building. And
the possums will be extra little shits because they know that they're not technically allowed to touch them.
Damn possums. They made a vest in the AC ducts again. All right, well, let's go. So they have to bribe the possums out most of the time because they can't, like you said, they're not allowed to actually really disturb them. Yeah, so That's definitely something I'm gonna have to explore at a later time. I'm definitely gonna have to do a session where the entire team is like captured, and everybody has to play a member of the possum team to go and save everybody. That's definitely gonna happen. Um, anyways, back on track. So, what exactly are you interested in spending your time doing then, KJ? You just kind of like reading up on stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna like pull up the records on all of like the Vorax incidents just to refamiliarize with like its MO and things, and then just see about deeper diving into Mandrake and like his connections. Like, who does he know? Who does he hang out with?
Okay. So, I mean, you know that he hangs out with Theurge, and you know that
Yeah.
Theurge has this sort of... Actually, do you know this, or did the others find out about this?
We apparently know that he's looking for magic stuff in general.
Yeah, I know that.
Stole the lockets before
Okay.
Coyote could steal it.
So,
But they was useless.
this is something that it seems Ghost and Amber are also kind of looking into something related to this Theurge guy as well. Because there have been a couple of, like, database searches that I think Ghost in particular has done. And one of the details that came out regarding Theurge is that he has a sort of like focus on taking sort of like animalistic spirits and sort of binding them to be like his servants. And so like one of the things he'll do is that he was very very commonly known for is taking animalistic spirits and binding them to people. So that they, and then basically kind of like holding sway over them magically to make them do his bidding. Which, Dr. Scott, that may sound familiar to you. So, just something to keep in mind. So, yeah, that's the gist of kind of what you find on Theurge. Unfortunately, between him and Mandrake, they're fairly obscure, like, persons of interest in the database, just because they were fairly active, like, almost a century ago. And then they kind of went dormant for a while with just, like, the occasional little, like footnote or whatever regarding some of their activity. As far as Vorax goes, one of the things that your dad kind of... and your dad made this information fairly public because he recognized the threat that Vorax posed. Vorax was very... It was kind of an interesting combination of like indiscriminate, but also very like picky. There was never any like larger purpose behind what or who Vorax hunted. But it always seemed to be in sort of like trends. Like there would be a stretch of time where Vorax would hunt specifically prey animals, and then would move up to specifically predator animals, and then like move up to like apex predators, and then like would focus on hunting humans. And so it was always kind of like wow. It always kind of like escalated from standard kind of like hunting prey to humans. Almost in a Predator, aka like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Predator movie, sort of mentality of like, building up to hunting the most worthy prey. This seems different though, because unless Vorax has been very very busy in the last 48 hours, it's highly unlikely that that the spirit has gone through like the entire life cycle that it would normally go through. It seems as if it's kind of jumped right to focusing on people. Which, sure, it's not that big a deal.
It's fine. Nothing to worry
It's
about.
fine. Yeah. So yeah, that's what you get.
Okay.
In the time before it's time to go meet Dad.
And then I'll go see how much of that bottle Dr. Scott's finished.
Depends on how much she's shared with the possums.
She's only had a little, actually. She's quite sensible, mostly.
Mostly.
She's not rolling a bat or anything. But when you come in, she's probably using like some sort of expensive piece of funnel or other scientific equipment to fill what looks like a hip flask, which you just catch her shoving into her pouch that she evidently has in her sort of belly fuzz, just as you're coming in. Okay, guess I'm ready to go meet the man.
That conversation might take a few minutes. Is there anything else you guys want to do in the meantime, or do you kind of just want to wait to see what that yields?
I don't think I have anything else at this point, because we've basically tracked this lead as far as it'll go. There's not much left to do but wait to see if it pans out.
Okay.
Unless you want to whip up a quick secret spy drone or something like your little friend there, maybe send it down the road, have a snoop around, something that'll go unnoticed. I can help if you like. I love putting together a few gadgets.
Yeah,
that's certainly an option.
It is. And don't forget, there are a couple of other potential leads. I mean, you know that Blockade is also looking for facelift, so you could always see if they have picked up any information or any leads, hack their computers or spy on what they're doing. You also know somebody at Blockade Compiler if you wanted to, potentially flex that that connection. Yeah, so there's another lead you could follow up on if you wanted to, or you can wait to see how this one goes.
That is a fair point. Yeah, honestly, I don't see a reason Compiler wouldn't try to call Joan on this. She was super helpful last time we talked.
Okay.
I just forgot that was on the table.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a weird jump from the first part of the episode to this one, so totally understandable. That's why I'm here to help remind. Are you calling, texting, emailing, video calling? What's the...
I think Compiler's default is just to use a phone call rather than anything else.
Okay.
I think probably Professor Calamitous would video call, and Compiler is trying to be different, so...
Professor Calamitous definitely would video call. He's got one of those, like, it's probably more advanced than, like, a standard, like, Apple smartwatch, but he's had it for longer. But it's that very retro, like I've got a wrist communicator that will let me video chat with whoever I'm calling type of vibe. It's very retro. It's totally up his alley. Yeah, so if you call Joan, and it takes a number of rings before it finally picks up. I mean, it's before she finally picks up. For those of you who may not know, I should probably have done a little intro for Cardinal, the character that Dr. Scott just contacted. Cardinal is an antagonist / criminal. It's iffy. in the city of Portland, associated with a group of villains known as the Menagerie, who are a group of animal-themed villains that operate in the area. Again, well, villains, antiheroes, antagonists. But it's questionable exactly what side of things they land on. Officially, they're viewed as like super criminals, due to some of their previous activities. Joan, aka codename Ark, is a blockade officer that Compiler previously had interaction with in Compiler's previous adventure. So these are recurring characters. If you want to know more about them, you can always check out those earlier episodes. But yeah, she will answer, and she says, Corporal Smith.
Corporal, it is a pleasure to speak with you again. I'm afraid I must ask for a moment of your time.
Oh, yeah, sure. She, you hear, like, probably some weights being, like, put back, where they were supposed to be, before she finally kind of gives you her full attention, and she says, I just want to say up front that I don't regret what happened, but I have been put on administrative leave and busted down after that whole situation. So, it's been a stressful couple of weeks for me.
I apologize for any distress I may have caused by my intervention in your contract. If it brings you any assurance, the doctor is quite safe. I was able to get her out thanks to your assistance.
Actually, that does make me feel a lot better. And I'm not upset with you. I mean, ultimately, you were doing the right thing, and I'm glad I could be a part of that. But just letting you know that if I don't sound the most enthusiastic to hear from you, that's why. But
That is perfectly understandable. I am used to people not being enthusiastic to hear from me.
well, just give it time. I'm sure that'll change for most people, myself included. I hope whatever you need my help with isn't going to be the sort of thing I get written up for again, if you don't mind me saying.
I do not believe that it is in my best interests to lie. I believe that it is very possible you may be in trouble if you were to help me in this situation. However, if that is the case, I would be more than willing to do every possible thing I could to ensure that it is never discovered that you were involved.
Well, I'm assuming that whatever it is you need help with, it involves actually helping somebody who could be in legitimate danger.
I believe that to be the case, yes.
Give me a willpower action just to kind of like convince her, because she's very clearly a little bit like hesitant to risk her career with the company.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got the one purple card, so let's go ahead and throw that down.
That's true. You do have one. You might as well use it. Wow, another one. Okay.
Incredible pulls this session. All right.
Can't argue with that.
Times honesty
that
is the best
totals out
policy.
at
Yep.
20.
20. Okay. All right. I'll discard those. You can go ahead and draw a card back.
Oh, sorry.
And that's okay. You can do it too.
Oh, goodness.
I tried to do it too. Uh-oh. Fate is catching up to you.
Recklessness. Sorry.
She kind of, takes a second and says, you know what? Hell with it. If I'm going to get written up by a supervisor because I decided I want to do something to help people, then maybe this isn't the right company for me. So, you guys got any openings in the union?
I believe we would be thrilled to have you. The union is still sort of establishing itself, and I believe that any hands we could recruit would be more than welcome.
Well, we'll table that conversation for if I part ways with Blockade. I think it probably violates my contract to discuss or negotiate a position with a rival or a competitive organization while I'm on the payroll. Why don't you just go ahead and hit me with what you need, and we'll go from there.
Very well. There is a mechanical intelligence. I am to this point unsure of its relative level of sapience, though I suspect it is becoming smarter over time. It is loose in the city somewhere. It escaped several days ago, and to my understanding, Blockade Securities has been contracted to locate it. I wish to ensure that it is not recaptured, so to speak, because while it is gaining intelligence, it is becoming more of itself, and to imprison that would be, frankly, monstrous, in my opinion. If you have not heard of this, I can hardly begrudge you.
There's a long pause, and then finally here, oh, I'm gonna get fired for this.
Then please do not feel obligated to tell me anything if it puts your position in danger.
No, look, it's just a job, right? So, here's the thing. I was actually supposed to be on the detail in looking into that, but after I got busted down, I might have mouthed off to my supervisor, got put on leave, and so the whole thing got passed off to Creedy, who is... Well, the guy runs around swinging a big axe, and that's his approach to solving problems. So that should tell you everything you need to know.
That does not seem like the most conducive way to approach security.
Well, Blockade likes to be proactive about its security approach. So it takes all types to make the organization go round, as they say. But, yeah, I'm familiar with it, and your take on things is a little different from what we were briefed on, but more or less the details seem to line up, so why don't you tell me what it is you need from me exactly?
We believe that we have located a general geographic region in which it may be hiding, but we do not know, in effect, how to locate it within that area, as it can imitate anyone. I was frankly hoping that as the contractors, you might have been provided with more information on how to track the project.
Give me a second. You hear her kind of typing away at a computer, and then she says, all right, well, I really hope you're right about the union recruiting, because otherwise I won't be able to afford this apartment for much longer. Let me just say it that way. All right, here's what I've got for you. It looks like they managed to find a lead, a guy by the name of Lincoln Davis. He was being held at Multnomah County Corrections and was apparently saying something to his cellmates about a buddy of his who someone basically, stole his identity, lived his life for a little while, wouldn't give the guy's name, and then he got sprung out on bail. So it looks like that's the lead they're pursuing. They're trying to find this Davis guy. Last known address, she gives an address, which is kind of in that same geographical region. His last known address is this address. there's a list of known associates that they identified as being possible likely candidates, but they want to find Davis to get the exact name from him.
Understood. Your assistance is much appreciated. And if I may, if you could provide a remote uplink to your computer, I could try to simulate a breach, make it seem as though you were hacked rather than gave the information out willingly.
She goes, you know what? Yeah, that would be great.
I will certainly do my best. It's, you are putting yourself on the line to help me. The least I can do is help you cover your tracks.
Oh, you're a real sweetheart. Thanks very much. I gotta go. And she hangs up.
Okay.
All right. I'm assuming you'll assign Spot to that particular task.
I think so. Yeah, because Spot is polymorphic. I think he can probably blend in a lot better than Compiler can. Turn into something that looks like a commercial drone or something.
All right. Are you sharing that information with Dr. Scott?
Yes, I think so, but I think it's very much in like a Dr. Scott is getting text messages while Compiler is still standing in the corner talking to itself sort of way.
Okay.
Because the phone is internal, so you'd only hear the one half of the...
That's true. That's true. So you get a text message from Cardinal Dr. Scott that's got a list of names that Coyote kind of said, like, yeah, it could be this, any of these people, which the list of known associates for Lincoln Davis, one name comes up on both lists, and that is someone by the name of Donnie Salazar.
I think we might have a hit.
Ah, excellent. I suppose the question now would be how to confront Donnie Salazar. We are, as noted before, less than a subtle pair, but it seems that we may need to be involved soon.
Well, I can be subtle. I don't really look the part. No.
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference between like trolling through a neighborhood asking for information about someone that you think might live in the area, and it's something else entirely to show up at the person's door and be like, "Hi, we'd like to talk."
Hideous possum creature and a giant robot.
I think hideous is a subjective label, but
Alarming, possibly, to a lot of people.
alarming, yes.
I am monstrous.
Concerning, unnerving, disconcerting.
Other adjectives.
Fun with words.
You reckon you can send Spot down this way?
Certainly. Spot is a very capable navigator.
What are we having Spot do exactly?
Well, I had two different thoughts on that. Basically, my ideas were send Spot to the general vicinity of this guy that Blockade is going to go talk to see if Spot can pick up any info from that conversation. Or send it out to try and get in contact with Donnie and act as like a first contact sort of thing, a radio receiver, like, hey, we saw your videos, we need to talk, can we meet somewhere, sort of. Either way, I think would be very appropriate.
I send Cardinal a message just on the off chance that Coyote or someone there might have something that has Donnie's scent on it, like a old bag of drugs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, she responds like, no, he wouldn't have anything like that.
Okay, it was a long shot.
Worth a try.
Like I could send my boys, but they're not very smart, so I don't think they'd really know what to be looking for.
So several of them perk up at that, and they kind of look at you, and then they shrug and go back to what they were doing. Very self-aware possums. They know what where their strengths lie. Except for Petey, who is not a self-aware possum because he's not a possum. He's actually a very unself-aware raccoon.
Delusional raccoon.
Yes. So, yeah, you just let me know what you want Spot to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking at this point, probably sending Spot to try and get a view on the blockade folks, because it kind of seems like we want to go talk to Donnie ourselves, so I don't know that we need a scene of sending Spot to set up an intro. That seems a little much, maybe.
One thing's for certain, we definitely need to find Donnie. He's been one of the most recent targets for this facelift thing, then we probably want to get on that as soon as possible before the trail goes cold.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so Spot kind of does the Transformers reconfiguration into like a little hover drone, kind of like wobbly, like lifts itself up off the ground and then and goes off. It's probably got like a basic interface for like sending you text messages, and then it's also got like a camera. Probably is able to record like short snippets of footage, but not much.
Okay.
So yeah, you basically have a floating camera phone or a floating smartphone that is going to go off and basically try to keep an eye out for blockade in that neighborhood. Give me. We're going to use your cards, but Spot's agility. Give me an agility action, please.
I don't know.
Spot has a 7 agility. Basically to represent Spot being sneaky and staying out of view and not drawing attention to itself.
Yeah,
Could
absolutely.
I use my leadership to switch out my agility card to compiler for the purposes of doing this?
So basically you want to like sit down while Spot's like kind of, reconfiguring itself. You want to kind of sit down and like talk about the plan, coordinate a little bit, and
Maybe have the monitor up and be giving advice and stuff and doing a good team leader job.
Yeah. So
I understand humans a bit better than compiler, so I'll probably be aware of social cues if someone gets a bit cagey if they're being followed or whatever. And yeah.
Okay. Give me a willpower action, please.
Okay. I don't have a good willpower card, so I'm just going to throw out
that 5
your
Doom
benefit,
really
a
good.
Doom card, Chance
Yes.
Windfall. Because Chance Windfall seems reasonable.
I like that event. All right. So that is going to give you a total of what is your total? Willpower 9 plus a 5 is 14. Leadership skill. Okay. So the two. Go ahead and draw your card back for that action, and then you can trade one of your cards for one of Compiler's cards.
Okay. Would you like this slightly better agility card?
He could make that happen, absolutely. And what would you like in return? I assume, yeah.
Okay.
Just swap for the slightly less good agility card.
All right. So Yeah, basically, compiler, you're going to need to give me an agility action. You do have a 1 in your hand, which you can use as an edge card, so you can play that, play the 6, gives you a total of a 7, and you get to play the top card of the deck. And then you would draw
That's
2 cards
exactly what
back.
I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, that is still playing a Doom card, so that means I get to draw another Doom card. Ooh, oh, that's going to be a fun one.
Don't like the sound of that. Okay. So that's... What is that? 10 on the field, and then spot 7 for a 17.
17 agility, okay. I will keep that in mind.
Oof.
And, oh, I mean, hey, at least it's a 10, right? That's good.
Yeah, there's that.
Positive 10.